Whispers Around the World, a Heal Our World book from SufferingWell. Chapter 32, An Unspoken Need. The idea of the retreat had sparked a new energy in the group, and they found themselves discussing it at every meeting, their excitement growing with each passing week. They had decided on the retreat center in the mountains, a quiet, peaceful place where they could pray, reflect, and share their faith in person. Bill had made the arrangements, and they were all excited about it. The thought of stepping away from their routines, even for just a weekend, filled them with anticipation. Since there wasn't any internet at the center, they wouldn't be able to include Mary Ellen, Rhonda, and Fred, but the three assured them that they would do something special on their own. As the plans took shape, each person expressed their enthusiasm, sharing small preparations they were making. Patricia and Audrey had already started gathering supplies for their angel craft kits, excited to have a crafting station where everyone could work together. Ken had dusted off his travel bags, eager to hit the road, and Patty had begun making lists of prayer and reflection topics for their time together. But Yuri noticed something different about Ruth. Normally cheerful and engaged, Ruth seemed quieter than usual, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Yuri couldn't put her finger on it, but she sensed that something was bothering her friend. At the end of that week's meeting, when most of the group had logged off, Yuri lingered, catching Ruth just before she signed out. "Ruth, is everything all right?" Yuri asked carefully. "You seemed a bit quieter than usual tonight." Ruth gave a small, forced smile, her eyes downcast. "Oh, I'm fine, really. I suppose I just have a lot on my mind." Yuri sensed there was more to it, but didn't want to press too hard. "Well, if there's anything you need, we're here for you. I hope you know that." Ruth nodded, her smile softening. "Thank you, Yuri. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the retreat. It'll be wonderful to spend time together." They ended the call, but Yuri couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The following week, she brought it up subtly with Patty and Paulette, sharing her concerns. "I noticed it too," Paulette said thoughtfully. "Ruth's been quieter since we started planning. You think there's something holding her back?" Patty tilted her head, considering. "Maybe she's nervous about the trip. It can be a big commitment, especially if she has other responsibilities." Yuri nodded, thinking, "Perhaps we could keep an eye out and see if we can figure out what's bothering her. If she needs help, I'd like to offer it, but I don't want to make her uncomfortable." Over the next couple of meetings, they began to pay closer attention, hoping to find some clues. As the others discussed their plans, Ruth continued to participate, but there was a slight hesitation in her voice, a lingering doubt that only those closest to her seemed to notice. Then one evening, after most of the group had signed off, Ruth stayed on the call again, not realizing she was the last one left with Patty and Paulette. They began discussing the logistics of the trip, and Ruth let out a small sigh, quickly covering it with a smile. Patty, always perceptive, quietly asked, "Ruth, are you sure everything is okay? You seem a bit, well, distracted." Ruth hesitated, glancing away. "I'm sorry if I seem distant. I've been thinking about the retreat, and while I'd love to go, I'm not sure I can make it work. Finances are a bit tight right now." The admission came out in a rush, and Ruth's face turned slightly pink as she realized she'd spoken aloud what she'd meant to keep to herself. She quickly added, "Please don't worry. I don't want to be a burden. I'll be there in spirit if I can't come." Paulette reached out, her voice calm and reassuring. "Ruth, you're not a burden, and you're very much a part of this group. I think we can find a way to make sure you're there with us." Ruth smiled softly, touched by their kindness. They ended the call, but the conversation lingered in Paulette and Patty's minds. The next time they met, Patty checked in early to talk to Yuri, sharing what they'd learned. Ruth doesn't think she can afford the trip, Yuri. She's been worrying about it, but didn't want to say anything. Yuri's heart went out to Ruth. Thank you for telling me. I think we should surprise her. Let's see if we can quietly raise the funds to cover her costs. I'm sure the others would be willing to pitch in. They agreed to keep it a secret, feeling a renewed sense of purpose as they quietly made plans to ensure Ruth could be there.